Today on Honestly, Dear Listener, we will be talking to singer, music teacher, and mentor Mizz Bren about creating art while being a mom, recharging our batteries, and how motherhood can actually propel our art forward. So, Emily, tell us a little bit about our very first guest on the show.
Bren, also known as Mizz Bren, is a dynamic force in the music industry. Hailing from Staten Island, New York, her journey in music began as early as she can remember. Music wasn't just a passion, it was her native language. Her musical odyssey started with piano lessons and singing in the church choir. Daily practice on a Hammond B3 organ in her den honed her skills. In school, she embraced clarinet and saxophone in the band. High school and college brought music producing, drums, bass, and guitar into her repertoire. Bren's unwavering commitment to her artistry paid off when she was signed to Justin Timberlake's former record label, Tenement Records.
Wow.
During her time there, she collaborated with music giants like Timbaland and Pharrell. She also lent her voice as a background singer to artists like Christina Aguilera, Diddy, Salt and Peppa, and T-Pain. She forgot to also say that she sang a song with Stevie Wonder in the room. Bren considers the mentors she met during this time as invaluable guides through the labyrinth music industry. Labyrinthine?
Labyrinthine,
Yep.
I
I think that's real. In 2015, she left Tenement Records and joined the Orlando, Florida band, the Shabooms. The band's journey included tours with legendary acts like the B-52s, opening for The Roots, Big Frida, KRS-One, Sister Hazel, Coolio, and many more. Bren's own journey as a music teacher and mentor began during this time. It was a leap of faith, but she understands the fear that can come with pursuing one's passion. Now she's here to assure you that trusting in yourself and the process will make you unstoppable.
Awesome.
My amazing, badass mom. She's not my mom, but she's a mom and my friend.
Here with my friend Carrie and our very first guest we've ever had, my friend Mizz Bren. Thank you so much
Bren.
for being here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be your first guest.
Yes.
I'm honored.
And you have had to put up with more probably than any guest will have to in the future. So
No, you got to work out the kinks, man. Let's do it.
Yes, we're trying to work out all of our recording stuff and learning a new platform and everything. So Miss Bren is kind enough to let us do that with her.
No problem.
well, we were just talking about your intro that we recorded before you were here, and introduced you. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just read it aloud to the whole class while you're sitting here. And you're like, please don't. And I'm like, oh yeah, that really does make sense, doesn't it?
Well, it feels awkward. It feels like, like where do I put my hands kind of a thing to have your bio read in front of everyone,
Absolutely.
Do you feel weird
Yeah.
about it in general?
Yes,
just hearing about
always.
yourself?
Of just even writing one, I think. I had somebody else write it a long time ago because I'm like, I don't know, I've done stuff. Here, put it together, be like that. And then that's kind of how it went. I was like, here, woo, everything. So I've had to, over the years, as I was adding to my bio, I'm just like, yeah, I did that, but it sounds like I'm bragging. You know what I mean? And so that's the hardest thing about hearing my bio, because it's like, yeah, I've done all that stuff, but I also feel like it's not important. You know what I mean? I know it's weird, but I just haven't been able to grapple that, like, that's meaningful to
Okay, no,
anybody.
I get that. And also, I feel like I do that for myself. But then when I hear other people say that, I'm like, what are you talking about? Look at all the things that you've done. But then I look at myself and I do the exact same thing. Why do we do that?
I don't know what it is. It's terrible. It's definitely been the biggest issue that I've had. I actually saw that you guys had talked about self-talk, the negative self-talk, and that's something that Emily and I have also independently spoken about, that it's really difficult to get out of that. And I don't even remember when that started, but when I did have my deal and I was doing stuff and working with all these people, and it was just like another day to me. You know what I mean? It's like, it didn't feel real because I still felt like I didn't actually reach the goal, the ultimate goal, which was for me to like release an album and do all this stuff and like be that awesome artist that everybody's like, oh my God, you're amazing, and I want to work with you or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they could actually see what I do and I get some sort of recognition for that. But it's like I didn't even get a chance to get there. So that's also why it's like a lot of those opportunities that I had and things that I've done, it's like, man, it happened. It was 10 years ago or this many years ago. Like what's the significance now?
Yeah.
You know, so I think as I get older, it's definitely taken me a really long time to notice that I've been having that negative self-talk, and it's going to take me a long time to get out of it.
Right.
So I'm actively working on that every single day.
Yep.
It's tough.
Oh, yeah.
It's really tough. Yeah.
It's such a hard job to be good to ourselves, like, at all. And I wonder, like, do you think, I've thought about this because I haven't done what you've done, that's for sure, but I've done some stuff, and it's hard for me to like remember that and drum it up and put it out there in the world. But I've also done a lot more than I had done before, you know, in my life. Right. I wonder do you feel like if you had done, and there's no way to know this, but if you had done in this time, because who knows what we're going to do later, right? If you had done that thing, do you feel like you would think it was a big deal then?
Would it be enough?
Right. Probably not. Seriously, I had, you know, it's so funny you say it. I actually had, and I've never told anybody this story. So you're getting the exclusive. I get sometimes these like moments of like, again, these moments that happened to me years ago, and then they'll pop into my mind and I'm like, oh yeah, that thing happened. That was an interesting little tidbit. But so how I met Justin Timberlake, it was actually through a contest to sing with him at the Grammys, and I had entered this contest totally not thinking I was going to win, but somehow made it onto his radar, went from top 5 to top 3. The top 3 were announced during the Super Bowl, like halftime, so my face and my name was flashed out there, and I was like, oh sweet. So like the following week was the Grammys. They flew myself and the other 2 contestants out there, and we had to learn My Love, the song that he had at the time, because he was going to be performing it, and some choreography, some light choreography, and then also it was a medley with Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers. So it was this whole thing, but T.I. was going to come out for the performance of My Love because he'd done the remix. He had like a verse on the remix. So like his boys, when we went to the rehearsal for the Grammys, like we're actually at the Staples Center, it was called then, we're there, and his boy is sitting there, and I had just like got finished doing my rehearsal with Justin, and I was like super confident. I was like, whatever, you know, whatever. And one of T.I.'s boys comes up to me, and he's just like, you looked like you weren't like happy to be here. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because I'm like super in the zone and I'm in the game, and maybe I had like resting bitch face at the time, but I was like really in the zone. Like I was like, hey, no, I didn't come here to mess around. Like I know what I'm doing. And when he said that to me, I was just like, also, I feel like I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? Like I haven't won. I didn't win the prize. So I'm not like, oh yeah, I got this and all smiley and shit. No, I'm not going to be that bitch right now because I'm super focused on this, and this is focused Brenda. And when he said that to me, I'm like, well, damn, shit, how do I look any other time that I'm like in the zone? Are people like, hey, she doesn't really like what she's doing? Like that bothered me so much. And that thought stayed with me anytime that I've been around like people that maybe could have done something for my career, you know, just the way that I came off to someone. I didn't want them reading me the wrong way, because it's like, no, I really am about this moment and I'm really about this, but maybe the expression that you're expecting me to have, I don't have that, but that's not a me problem. That's a you problem that I'm not meeting that expectation. Right. I'm me, you know what I mean? So yeah, so that whole thing like made me feel weird about myself, and I've been self-conscious about that ever since. And this guy said this to me 15, 16, 8, how many years ago at this point? 18 years ago. Like, and it still sticks with me. Why is that? Like, why am I so mad at myself. Like, I can't get out of this thought process. Like, now I have this extra thing to worry about myself and how other people perceive me. It's wild. But
do you feel like it really messed with you in the moment, or do you think it like
yeah oh yeah, it was, because it was the only thing that was critical that somebody had said to me, but it was like also something that I'm like, well, I can't fix that for you. That I'm just like, I'm in the moment. I didn't look bored. I was making sure that I was getting all my cues right. I mean, again, there was choreography. We're literally, I'm going to figure out at tomorrow if I'm even going to do this routine, but I want to make sure that I have it, right. So yeah, I looked a little serious and in the moment intense, but yeah, this guy, just when he said it, it was just like, it kind of felt like when a guy sees you and they walk in, they're like, smile. You know what I mean? It's like, hold on.
Yes.
What do you mean, smile? How dare you?
Aren't you happy to be here?
So that's the way I internalized it. But again, it has bothered me like ever since, because I'm always like, well, how are people, like, I'm hypercritical about how people perceive me. Right. And I think also that's the reason why I don't put my music out. Like, I don't release my stuff. Because I've been afraid of people being hypercritical about stuff that I can't change, or I'm not going to change for that particular person. You know what I mean? Right. Like, just being unapologetically myself. I mean, yeah, it bothered me though that he even had the gall to say that, because it's like, man, I don't know you. I don't care who boy you are. He was just gonna come up to me and be like, yeah, so you don't really look like I don't like what.
Yeah. Ugh. Because it seems like just like that seems to be a problem for women, men coming up and saying, oh yeah, you need to smile or whatever. Like, I wonder how many men are sitting here going, when they have their bio read, like, it doesn't even feel like enough. Like, it doesn't even feel, like, is this feels more like a woman in this society issue than it does for men.
Well, also, when we talk about most of the industries are dominated by men, so if they get their bio read, that's like, the ultimate pat on the back. Guys like that stuff. They love that.
Well, and I heard...
Get that ego stroked.
I feel like women in general, in order to feel like they're valid and when they're doing the thing, we need to feel like we have all the education. We feel like we need to have all these things under our belts in order to feel confident enough to put ourselves out there. Whereas I feel like on the other side, a lot of men are like, I don't know how to do the thing, but I'm gonna, yes, I can absolutely do that. Without any kind of, a lot of times, it's almost like they're confident enough to say, yes, I can do the thing, before they even know that they can do the thing. And then they just figure it out along the way, whereas women are just the opposite. Like, I know freaking PhDs in their subjects. Like, they have hit the pinnacle of what they could learn educationally, and they're still questioning themselves in their field. And I'm like, what? You? And yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah. No, you're
I feel like maybe with men, is it like all they have to be is brave? Like, at that point, to just be like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it seems like all we have to be is, it's like the Barbie movie, all of these things to not be criticized. So the awareness of that criticism stops us from even putting anything out there in the first place. Like, but at the same time, I don't know if this is weird, but like, we only have to be brave too. It's just that society has put all that shit on top of us that we then have to crawl through so much just to be brave in the first place. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of men aren't getting the comment of like, oh, you don't look thrilled to be here. Like, or just smile or whatever. Like, no, I am not here to be pleasing to you or to look pleasing to you. I'm here to do the thing. Period. End of sentence.
Right.
Though I will say that little tip can be beneficial because, I mean, think about it. Like, no one's going to mess with, like, you want me to smile, like, no one's going to mess with the bitch on the subway that's like, you know? I mean, so there are good points to smiling.
That's true.
That's amazing.
So,
Sorry.
Bren, I want to know, because I've heard that you've become a mother.
I am a mama.
Okay, so how has becoming a mom changed how you do the thing and your relationship to the thing?
Oh boy. So this morning I was like, why did I have kids to begin with? I really just wanted to send him right back from whence he came today.
And by the way, I don't think that there's any shame in saying that. I think there's not enough of us women who are honest about how we feel. Yeah.
I mean, mine's 19 and I'm like a lot of days and they don't even live with me anymore. Anyway.
It doesn't end either, because I know I'm the same way for my mom too. It's like I'm still really annoying and I ask her for things and she's just like, yes, Brenda. Okay. I love her to death. She's amazing.
From whence you came.
From whence you came. No, so being a mom, I was like, so when I was in the music industry, I was super scared of getting knocked up and ruining my career. That was a really big thing. Side note, I did end up getting knocked up literally the day I was going to sign with RCA after getting let go with Interscope. That morning before my flight, I took a pregnancy test because I was like, things seem a little wrong here. Found out, and my boyfriend at the time was just like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I'm going to be in New York, so I'll take care of it. And then by the time I get back to Florida, we'll be baby free. That was my mentality because I was so serious about my career. You know, and also too in the music industry, and I was in my late 20s at that point, so it wasn't like I was a baby, but I was also like, hey, I got to do the thing. I got to make sure that, you know, because also at the time, being a woman in the music industry, the second they find out you're pregnant, it's game over. Yeah, and that's also a really terrible thing that needs to change. But I remember when I told, he was the president of the label at the time, the last president, Dre. I had told him right before the meeting, I'm like, hey, so I found out I'm pregnant this morning, but I'm going to take care of it. Like, it's all going to be okay. And it's like, in retrospect, thinking that I even felt like I needed to do that was really tough. Do I regret it? Absolutely not, because I ended up not staying with the person that I was with, and that was a whole mess anyway. But getting to where I am now and making the decision, like, okay, I found out I have a choice here, but I want to see this through. I'm going to be 40 next year. It's not like I'm going to have much time, you know, to have a safe, viable pregnancy anyway. So I said, well, you know what, screw it. And the guy I was with, I'm still with, you know, and he's like super supportive. So we decided to do it. I remember the guy, so the main dude, I'm in a band as well. The main dude in my band was like super depressed when he found out that I got pregnant, because again, that old trope, it's like, oh, the band's over, you can't do anything else when you have a kid. And I'm the first one that's always said, I will perform until this baby's born on the stage. I don't care, you know, because I care about music so much that nothing's going to get in my way. I've watched other people do it, you know, other women, really strong women, have their children maybe behind closed doors, maybe back, you know, like kept them in the background, but they still can be a mom and handle their shit. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, I don't have like my mom as like main support because she lives in New York, but I have my partner. We make it work. You know what I mean? Like, he knows when he gets home from work, it's like, hey, I've been up with the baby since 5:30. So here you go. Like, you got to handle it. And then I have my time to do what I want to do. I wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I mean? And there's also a quote that I had talked to Emily about a few weeks ago, and I was trying to remember who the hell told me this quote. It was Al. Al's the main guy in my band. He had said to me, you know, one thing, he's like, you're always going to make time for the things that you love. And I was like, huh, yeah, that's right. Because you do. If there's something that you really want to do And if, say, there's something conflicting and you're not really feeling it, but you're going to choose the thing that you really want to do, right? So I will move mountains to make sure that I can do the things that I love, period. And that's how I focus all of my efforts on my music when I feel like it. My teaching, you know, having the opportunity to go to LA for a week and a couple of days over the summer. Like, so I have the support here to take care of my son. Like, because of that, that's paramount. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I've had relationships where guys were like, oh, we don't, you know, they were so insecure. They couldn't handle me being away, doing my own thing, or hanging out with a bunch of guys in my band after shows and stuff. And I've always stood my ground, and I'm like, well, if you're not going to support me, then gets to step in. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I do. This is my life. And that's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm not changing. That's it. So I put a hard line in the stand. That's how. If my son wants to come in here right now, he knows he can't because it's mommy time. You know? Like, so I got to make sure that he knows that as he grows up, like, mommy, I'll make time for him, but I also need time for the things that I love. That's how I do it.
Where
It'll
was
probably
your
change next week, though.
I was gonna ask you, like, where I'm sure that along the way you've had to like fight that. Like, tell me more about the journey with those things where, like, as I know you and I have talked, it's like sometimes you can lose yourself so deeply, not just in motherhood, but with like being brokenhearted about not having the time that you used to have and that stuff. So like, I mean, tell me more about what those ups and downs kind of look like. 'Cause it's, I mean, it's tough.
So right after I had my son, it was emergency C-section. I also had it in, somehow magically my colon was perforated. We didn't find out until like 2 days, but my care was delayed and I was going into septic shock and all this stuff, and I didn't know what was going on, just in a lot of pain. So that landed me in the ICU. They had to open me up, like my entire abdomen, clean me out because waste was like filling my body. Oh, it was terrible.
And this was just after having your son? Oh, okay. So trauma on trauma.
Right.
On the body.
So I will say there's a bit of it that I don't remember because I was on drugs for like a whole month.
Yeah.
But I remember like the first few months of having to, just recuperating and all that, and understanding what my body was doing and not doing, and then the baby, and like being overwhelmed with so much. And, I fought with myself in terms of like not falling into despair of not being able to be and feel myself 100%. Like, I went through a super rough patch. Didn't go talk to any doctors for like postpartum or anything like that. I dealt with it, but I definitely didn't deal with it in a healthy way at all. I was like, hey, wine. And was drinking a ton of it around that time. And it got like, that was the only thing that I felt like was like helping me through it all. Like, once the baby was asleep, I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't easy. I found my stride though. And it took me a really long time to find my stride, because I think after I had my son, I didn't actually perform until like October. My son was born in January. So I didn't even go back to any performances until October. And because I needed that time.
Yeah.
I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. Like, I was just stuck. And what I did do, kind of my therapy, was when the baby was still tiny, like, I'd sit him on my bed and I had like this little pillow, the little boppy pillow, I'd put him in and prop him up. And then I had a little keyboard, and I would just give him the keyboard, and I would sit here and I would play stuff, like, and that would help me. It's like him just messing around and learning about his hands and stuff and his motor skills. And as he was doing that, I would sit right here and just start playing music. And I've incorporated my son in a lot of things to actually pull me out of that funk. Like I wrote 2 songs for him specifically that I sing to him every night. And it's been a part, he's going to be 2 in January now, but it's been a part of our nightly routine is for me to sing the songs that I wrote for him. So I will attribute some of that, me getting back to music and myself is including my son and my musicality. And that's funny. I actually didn't even think about that until now, like how it actually worked out. But that was my time to really bond with my son in the way that like I carried him, and it wasn't easy. And he was always around music too, because I was also teaching piano and voice, and I was still performing while I was pregnant and stuff. So it was just really cool to see my son like hang out. Like he wasn't crying. He was just like, mama, you know, like, okay, she's doing stuff. I do stuff too, you know? And just having him, he would sit in my lap. I'd make little videos with him that I posted like once. And that was it, you know? And that's, I think, like, I'm going to get emotional. I don't want to, but it was my son. As funny as that sounds, it was my son that kept me doing music when I felt like I was losing myself completely. You know? Wow. That's really interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and he's still that for me. Like he'll come in here. I can't get too much done with him because he'll come and like try to touch everything. He's at that age where he's just all over everything. So I have like a guitar over here that he can come and pluck the strings on. And I have a little micro Korg on the floor that I plug it in if he wants, and he can play around with that. But yeah, I mean, my kid, who would have thought that the one thing that they always said would be, your career is over, is the one thing that helped me keep going.
Oh my God. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even, honestly, I never even looked at it like that. I never even thought about it like that before. But yeah, it was him the whole time. Little nugget.
That's cool.
It's
Yeah.
I had how old is your son right now?
He is going to be 2 January 2nd. So I lost count of months.
Yeah.
After, like, first
I feel like 2 is
still say like 24, and I'm like, come on, 18.
you don't want to be that mom that's like,
My son's 105 months.
Yeah. I'm like, he's almost 2. Let's just leave it at that. He's almost 2. Yeah.
Oh man.
So one of the hardest parts of being a mom for me is I recharge by myself alone, and I also do the things by myself alone. You know, I write and I sew and I do all those things without people around.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult because not only is it hard to carve out time for you to be alone, but motherhood is constant. I mean, like, even if I have a babysitter, there's at least a part of my brain that is at home because I'm responsible for that child, you know, and that is really difficult. What have you found? Do you require alone time as well?
Yes, ma'am.
What? Yeah.
So I didn't know. So when we had lockdown during COVID, I was always the type of person that I can, you know, I'm social to a degree. You know, when I'm by myself, I just want to be like in my little cocoon. You know what I mean? I close all my blinds. Like I'm a vampire. I stay up all night and I create and stuff like that. During COVID, because my baby's a COVID baby, but he came at the tail end. So when it was like lockdown, I remember I was spending so much time just learning how to be alone because I wasn't working, you know, like they closed everything down. I wasn't working. I was doing Zooms with people. I was just like, this is weird. But then I started to understand that I need to be by myself more, because I'd also come out of relationships and living with people. So like having a roommate was like completely different, that like, oh, I have my own space and this is my room and whatever. So I spent a lot of time just understanding what it was like to be alone and being okay with that. And then when it was like, oh, now you have to stay home and you can't go anywhere, and I just really enjoyed it. And I thought it was the greatest thing, because I didn't have to deal with people and I didn't have to go outside because people were being really terrible to each other. And I saw how everybody was talking on social media, and especially at that time, mask, no mask, and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I really grabbed an appreciation for being alone then. And then so when I had him and realized that in the beginning, because I also couldn't like hold him because I had all these stitches here. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so I couldn't hold him. So I was unable to breastfeed. And plus, and the other thing, I was on so much medication. Like they had given me at one point, I think I was on like morphine for all the pain. And I was on like a whole cocktail of stuff. So they wouldn't even allow me to hold my son because I was so doped up on everything. And so
After they almost killed you.
After they almost killed me, exactly.
Yeah,
So then I had to deal with like the emotional trauma of that, of not having the opportunity to hold my son the way that I wanted for 2 weeks. I couldn't hold him for 2 weeks.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
And within those 2 weeks, not only did I go to the ICU, then they sent him to NICU because he had some sort of like heart issue. I think that had to do from my labor being so terrible. So all of that combined with then finally we're home, and I did everything that they told you not to do. He slept in the bed with me because I wanted him close, and I wanted him all the time, and we were really good about it. Like Nick made sure that we didn't crush him and he didn't die. And then, 6 months we sent him to his room and banished him to have his own space. I was at that point where I needed my own space. When he was 6
Get your
months.
own milk. No.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you need a job. Hello. And this was also during like the formula shortage, so I was even more stressed out and we chose the worst time to have a baby during a novel pandemic and all these shortages. It was a nightmare. But all that's behind us, and it feels like it was 10 years ago now, as we lost so much time. But I think at some point around the time that we finally transitioned him to his own bed, and I was starting to realize, like, I need to be me. I need to get back into things that I love. I'm a mom, but that's not my identity. Like, I'm a mom. That's a part of who I am. But that's not all encompassing. It's not like my life is over and now I'm just a mom. Like, no, I'm a lot of really awesome things, apparently, because I've done a lot of really awesome things. I got to remember that.
Apparently.
Apparently I'm really awesome. I've done shit. But also, I'm a mom, and I want to be the best mom that I can be to my kid. So that requires me having, and I'm just finding this out, that requires me having my me time. Because by the time Nick gets home from work between 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm like, hey, go ahead, take a shower. And I'm already running to the room so I can go do whatever I need to do, whether it's working on my website that I've been working on for like a year and a half. Like now I'm like actually sitting down and doing it. Like I'm taking the time that I've always needed, in a way that it's like, but I'm being more productive. And also because I'm not drinking, so I have more time and brain space to actually do productive shit, And again, I wouldn't be able to do that, honestly, if I didn't have my partner, And I know not everybody is blessed to have that situation, but, Nick's been really supportive and really great. And without him, I would be in a lot of trouble. I probably wouldn't get shit done. I probably wouldn't be able to do the things that I would love to do. And I would try to make the time for it, but, my son would be too needy for me to get anything done. So I would have to find alternative ways to keep him busy. But yeah, having Nick has definitely been fantastic. And that's why I'm like, hey, you know, I'm able to step away and do what I want to do, you know.
When do you, okay, so he gets home from work and then you have your time. How much time do you typically get?
That varies. So it could be like, say, right now, like he got home like around 5, right? So baby goes down roughly around 7, but it's not like he takes over complete daddy time because I still have to put the little schnookums to sleep. He's not gonna, if he knows that mommy's not home, that he's not gonna let just dad put him to sleep. So maybe I'll get roughly 2-3 hours tops of me time. That's why I have to kind of like crunch. But then when he goes to sleep, I can do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
But then that's also the time for Nick and I to reconnect.
Right.
Because that's important.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard. How do you have enough hours in the day to do everything that you want to do?
You don't. So that's why my house looks a mess. Because you know what
You gotta
mean?
pick some. You gotta pick.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't have anybody coming over, you know, other than the maintenance guys to fix my dishwasher. But other than
While
that,
you're in there, will you wash a couple of those? Because do you mind?
well, we've had to do it by hand manually for like the horror, washing my dishes manually in this house.
I've thrown dishes away. I have literally, okay, so
I love that.
So that's not because I could afford to, but yeah, when I lived in Denver, I was single momming it. And there were times where it was just like, okay, like we had to go something and we put something on a plate and then I wouldn't go back to the kitchen sink for days. And there was a time or two that I was just like, this was $1.50 at Target. I can't fucking do this. And I just threw them away.
At that point, there's like colonies already living and breeding on the plate.
Yeah, you're like, I'm never getting that out of there. I don't know. It's part of the plate now, you know.
I've been good about that though. Like we've been every day, you know, just trying to clear out that sink because it drives me nuts. If I have to wake up in the morning and the sink is like overflowing, I'm gonna have a bad day, and so is Nick. So it's best that before bed we try to clear all that away. And then if you know, I do it by hand if I have to. But having the dishwasher is just so much easier because then I can just stuff it in there and run it.
So you gotta pick. I mean, you gotta pick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Time with my kid. Time with my partner.
Yeah.
Time creating my art. Time to like I don't know, relax. Just not having to be like on some sort of job. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
well, prioritizing again. You know, making time for the things that you want, that you love, and the things that you care about. I mean, if Nick wants to come home and play his video games, because sometimes he does that too. Like he's just like he needs him time because he just got home from work, or he's like, okay, baby, and I'll ask him. I'm like, well, do you want to watch something with me? Because we watch like 90 Day Fiance or whatever.
Oh my God.
It's called. Like, we're literally watching. We've never watched it before, but we're only watching Ed's season right now, and we just finished it. So
I love
that was
it.
aired during COVID. We call it hate shows. These are, so we have our hate shows that we watch, which they're all reality shows. So
I call them trash TV.
Housewives of Atlanta. Trash TV, yeah, it's the same thing. But we do that together. That's our way of I know it sounds terrible, but that's our way of bonding sometimes. Like we'll watch that. And then Emily knows that the new thing that we are very united on right now is the whole UFO situation. So that every single day we check it. You don't know.
Wait, what's the whole UFO situation?
Girl.
Oh no.
How much time you got?
Oh no.
I'll just send you a video.
Okay.
I will not even rope you into because we don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
I can tell, but I will hook you up with sort of an abridged version of things that you should be. Everybody
you're gonna send me down that rabbit hole.
If you're ready, just seriously,
I'm ready.
Know that you're ready. Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm ready. Send me the
Consent.
stuff.
We're recording.
Yes, that's right. I consent.
Okay, I got you.
Oh man.
So and then, like stuff like that. So
Bren, what would you let's say, there's an artist out there, she just had a baby and she is drowning in the waters of motherhood.
Yeah.
And she feels like she's losing herself. It's rough. What would you say to her, having gone and are still going through, the having a child? What would you say?
So what I would say is definitely don't do what I did and be hard on yourself for not feeling normal right away. What I did, I was in so much denial after like just having him, because I was on so many drugs that I literally thought I was okay, even though I knew I wasn't okay. I was crying multiple times a day. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't feel normal. I was sad because my baby, like I couldn't hold him, and I was like, I felt that bonding of breastfeeding was taken away from me. So I was like really, really weirded out about it. But I was really hard on myself. And my first thing would just be like, give yourself grace. Bonding with your baby is the best thing to do immediately. So make sure you spend that time to bond with your baby properly. Don't worry about anything else. Okay. That's the most important. Everything else can go away tomorrow, but you're still going to have that baby, right? So worry about your baby first thing. Second of all, self-care is so important. I didn't shower for like an entire month after I had my son. I felt disgusting, plus of all of my bandages, like I couldn't really shower. I was miserable. But make sure that you take time for self-care. I'm still working on this too, because I'm always on. So it's like I wake up and the baby. So it's like, all right, I might not shower every day, but I still get one in at some point during the week. Sorry, these are the breaks. It's just how it is. But that's just what it is, right? Nobody tells you that though. You might see memes about it, but nobody tells you that. But make sure that you take the time at least once a day. Take the time when you can to do some self-care. Take your shower, brush your teeth, make a cup of tea, burn some incense, whatever you got to do. Once a day. Make sure that you put that in your mind to at least do that once a day. Third thing, especially if you don't have any support. So there's ways that I've seen that moms can do things like what I used to do. If I needed a shower so bad, I would actually bring Apollo into the shower with me. I had like his little carrier, and you just put him on the floor, and I would leave the door open, and he would just hang out right there. So I could still hear him. I'm not paranoid about him being in the other room and freaking out, and then I can't hear him. It's like he's right there. So it's like you can do all that stuff with the kid right there. Totally fine. But if there's something that you really want to do, they have these Pomodoro timers where you give yourself, you could set it for like 20 minutes or 15 minutes or however much time, but you give yourself that whatever time you want to allot, whether it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes to the one thing that you want to do with no distractions. Do it. If the baby needs to be right next to you while you do it, you can make it work. I was really afraid to do anything with my son right next to me because I was like, oh, he's too much of a distraction. But it's like, he's just chilling. Give him something to do. He could be there so you can still work on whatever it is that you need to do. People get it done. People make it happen. People have been doing shit with their kids for fucking centuries.
Like, tied to their
That's
bodies
right.
and still
strapped to their back.
Literally. And so anytime that it feels overwhelming, because that's not to say that, you can't be overwhelmed. But when you really think about it objectively, like, this ain't shit. Like, I got this, just fucking tackle it. Like, tackle it. You got this. Because, you can strap the baby on you, do what you need to do, have the baby right there. The baby is never going to be a deterrent or an obstacle. It's an extension of you. The baby is an extension of you and the things that you have yet to do, and that's the way that I've been viewing motherhood. It's scary because I'm like, am I fucking up sometimes? You know what I mean? Like, cause I'll be real with you. It's not all peaches. It's really not. There's times where I flip out inside. I have to catch myself when I want to curse at him because I'm like, you a little motherfucking, like, I don't talk to him like that, but I want to sometimes. But, I have to chill out. And that's also been helping me too, is learning how to regulate my emotions as a mother, because I grew up in a household where you got beat, and you got slapped, and you got spanked, and you got yelled at. Like, that's just how it was, for me and a lot of my peers growing up. So that's what I was used to. So of course, me also trying to make sure that I'm not repeating cycles and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I would never want someone to feel like they can't achieve their dreams because they're a mother, because that's such bullshit. And we all know where that stems from, the patriarchy.
Yes.
Fuck the patriarchy. Down
That's
with it.
right.
Yeah. So, and we know that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a long
So
game.
you're saying, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say it's a long game too. Like with kindness, like you said, along the way through this, it's like, not every day are you going to be able to make the thing. Not every moment are you good. Not every day can you take that shower or set the timer. But it's the long game. You're raising a human. You are a human. You're making things. And it's the long game. That's all such great advice. And it's like, you don't have to stop. I'm a single parent making music, and there were years that it's like, well, we're a little dark this year on what's going on, but long game, man. Like, I love that so much.
Yeah, no, and that was an awesome question. I think I've grappled a lot with me being everything that I'm supposed to be for the sake of my son or for the sake of me, right? So when I look at it as like, oh shit, I got to do this for my kid because I want him to be proud of me for sticking through with in sticking to everything, my dreams and never giving up. It was easy to give up before I had him because I didn't have anybody really encouraging me and saying, hey, Brenda, it's all good. Like, you guys are fine. Like, you're good. Like, it's going to work out, coming out of a string of bad relationships, one after the other, like, it was awful. And I was just like, man, I don't know. I was at a crossroads of like, do I still want to do music? I wanted to like quit the band at one point because I was just like, what the fuck is the point of all this? You know what I mean? We weren't getting paid well. Like, what am I doing? And I guess my son renewed a lot of things in my life. And instead of being like, oh, I want to be this big star, I'm kind of like, nah, I'm cool playing the background, but I still want to do me, whatever that looks like. And not putting so much pressure on being that successful or version of success that I thought at 18 years old. That has totally changed now at almost 40. And I'm making sure that nothing's going to stop me, whatever that is. And I'm open to my road meandering any which way, but I'm open for the adventure. I'm open to the adventure. And I want my son to see that so that he knows that he's never stuck in a box and he has all these different paths and opportunities to figure out who he is. That's okay.
So kind of what you're saying is, we can view motherhood as, the baby's distracting me and my child is distracting me, or we can choose to not lose ourselves in motherhood, but at the same time have that child there almost as like a focus. It sounds like your son refocused your life in a way that made music and art and creating things more clear than it was before.
Absolutely. I was literally thinking about making an album for kids, which is not something I would think about when I didn't have a kid. But that was that's an avenue of music that it's not untapped. I mean, there's a lot of really good child music makers out there, child song makers, but I'm just like, well, shit, I can still do something like that. Like, nothing's holding me back from doing that, and I can dedicate that to my kid. And if that blows up, that'll get him through college. Like, who knows? Like, these are the ways that my brain has started to kind of like open up, and I see nothing but opportunity now. I don't see anything that's going to block me. Are you kidding? Nothing but opportunity. It's only upward from here. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Use it instead of looking at motherhood as a distraction from our art. You can actually use motherhood as an inspiration.
Absolutely.
For art.
Absolutely. 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's so great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mizz Bren, thank you so much for being our first guest. I wish I had like a little confetti gun, like, just be like,
hooray!
I wish I had some. I've got Post-it notes. I don't know. Yay. Thank you so much for having me, because you definitely had me think about things that I otherwise, you tapped into certain parts of my brain, some really notable moments and memories. Thank you so much for this. I needed it. Really. Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
pleasure.
Can you let people know how they could follow you, find you, your art and things?
Okay. Well, I'm working on this right now, but you can follow me on Instagram. It's MIZZBREN, Mizz Bren at Instagram. And if you want to check out my band, it's the Shabooms, THESH-BOOMS, or if you want to find us on social media, it'll be that. And we've got music coming out soon, and I wish I had something done that I could be like, hey, come check out this thing.
You're working on it. You're working
That's okay.
on it.
You're in process.
It's a work in progress. See,
That's
I gotta
right.
People
stop
can
that.
follow
Work
you on
in
Instagram.
progress. It's coming.
That's right. Right.
Yeah,
Long
and
game.
I'll do much better. The long game.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll do
That's
much better
right.
with that.
Well, thanks again for being our guest.
Thanks, Bren.
And we'll talk soon, I bet.
All right. Bye.
Bye.